Hi, I'm Alicia.
And I'm Robin, and you're listening to Bowel Moments,
the podcast sharing real talk about the realities of IBD. Served on the rocks.
This week, we talked to Kishore Pardasani. Kishore is the CEO and founder of the OstoBuddy app. He was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis when he was in college, and he was very far away from home. We talked to him about how and why he developed the OstoBuddy app, and we talked to him about how that led to him winning the Lyfebulb challenge. We talk a lot about innovations that are necessary in the ostomy supply technology. We talked to him about the craziest thing he's done with ulcerative colitis, and we talked to him about life in Barbados. Cheers.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Bowel Moments. This is Robin.
Hey guys, this is Alicia, and we are absolutely delighted to be joined by Kishore Pardasani. Kishore, welcome to the show.
Hey Alicia, hey Robin, thanks for having me.
We're so excited to have you on because you are unique so far. So I'm excited to talk to you more. And we're not going to give away the lead on this one because I think we have a lot to talk about. So, But first question for you is, what are you drinking?
Well, it's a Sunday morning over here, so I'm having some coffee. If it was any other time, maybe something a little bit stronger.
Robin, what about you?
It is Sunday morning, so I am also drinking coffee. Are you drinking coffee too, Alicia?
I was like, this is apparently the coffee hour episode because I'm having a latte though. So I guess technically I'm having espresso, not coffee, but you know, whatever, same difference. It's coffee. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Salud.
Happy Sunday morning.
Yes.
All right. Next question for you, Kishore, is tell us your IBD connection and why we brought you on the show.
So this goes back like many, many years, right? We're talking about like 20 years now, not dating myself, my age, but I'm originally from Barbados. So I moved here for college, I'm based in Miami, Florida, and I went to college at the University of Miami. And, it was my first time away from home, enjoying myself, and was alone, no family here. And during my college career, I started not feeling too well. That led to a bunch of hospitalizations and, doctor diagnosis of ulcerative colitis. So it was a pretty traumatic experience because I was here by myself, no family around me, no one to take care of me. My friends were my caregivers. And as time progressed, I ended up, being on multiple medications, all the ones that you guys probably know about, right? The steroids, the Humiras, the Remicades of the world, et cetera. And many years later, when I turned around 30, 31-ish, I was told by my doctor that I needed to have surgery. I was at risk for perforation. I had failed, all natural medication or medication therapies, and I needed to have my colon removed. So it's been quite an experience, as you can imagine, many hospitalizations. But yeah, that's a little bit of the background on how I ended up here.
It seems like a typical dramatic and traumatic entry into the IBD community. We've had multiple guests that have had a similar, including myself, similar traumatic and dramatic experiences. I feel like there should be an easier way. If you're going to get diagnosed, it should be easier, but it's not.
They're like, listen, in a month, you're not going to feel well. Just be prepared. Get ready. Get the Charmin. Get ready.
Yeah.
I don't know that I think then I would just worry about it too much. So maybe, I don't know. This is a debate whether you'd rather have it do like acute onset or like slow burn. I don't know. Debate we're going to get into maybe later.
Maybe later.
But so all of that has now led you to eventually apply to be part of the IBD Innovation Challenge, otherwise known as Lyfebulb. Tell us a little bit, like, how did you learn about this? How did you get involved in this? Like, how did you get here?
Man, there's so much to unpack in that question. So let's take it a little back, and give you a little bit more background on my ostomy journey. So when I got my first major surgery, I went into it as a warrior, right? I was young, I was fearless. The doctors gave me this big, warning sign of, oh, you need to have a colon removed. I'm like, I can do this. This is easy, right? And they gave me hope with the fact that I'd have a temporary ostomy. And, they were going to build this thing called the J pouch inside of me. It was innovative. It was something radical and, it would be a 2-step surgery. You guys are familiar with all of this, right? And in 2009, I went through that. And the reason I decided to kind of move forward was because my wife and I were trying to have kids up until that point, and we were having some challenges. And she miraculously became pregnant with our first daughter. And the doctor was like, if you want to enjoy your kids, now's the time to do it. And if you could picture a moment, like, sign me up. Like, I signed up right there. I was like, this is the future. I have to be around for my kids. So I went through the first surgery of many now in April of 2009, where they removed my colon, created a J pouch, gave me a temporary ostomy, had my, recovery period, and got my reversal in August of that year. And initially, like, I felt like things were going to be better. My daughter was born. I was able to enjoy her for a little bit, but quickly things didn't go right. I started suffering from pouchitis, back on many, many medications. So, like, you have these surgeries so you can get off of these medications. And I found myself back on these medications, not feeling well, lost a ton of weight, which I feel like I could use a little bit of, that losing of weight right now, but I'm not complaining. But things weren't going right. And then back, in 2010, I said, I can't do this. Like, I was in the bathroom more than I was before having surgery. And then I made the rough and tough decision of, let's just have an endoleostomy. I'll just make this a permanent solution for now, and then revisit the J pouch in the near future if medicines improve, there's some innovation happening there, whatever. Long story short, I still have my ostomy and I still am diverted. I have my J pouch, and I gotta tell you, like, it's given me my life back. Like, it's a radical change in lifestyle. Don't get me wrong. Like, to have something attached to you all the time, have to worry about, things getting unglued, having, leaks and the odors and whatnot. But besides all of that, like, my life is so much better. I've gained weight. I can eat. Don't get me wrong. There are challenges, but it's 90% better, right? So then you asked me, like, what did I do when I came home from the hospital with all these ostomy supplies? And we all feel like, I'm going to have the surgery, I'm going to get home, and, it's going to be business as usual and life's going to go on. But I came home from the hospital when I had the surgery, and about a day later, I got this box at my front door. And it wasn't like, a box with Amazon logo on it with a new tech gadget or whatever. It was a box full of ostomy supplies. I'm like, what the hell do I do with this stuff? You got pouches, you have wipes, and you have, barriers and rings and whatnot. Like, I've never had to kind of do this before. And yeah, there's a home health nurse that kind of shows up for a couple of weeks to teach you how to do this stuff, or you learn it at the hospital. But then when you actually have to do it and manage all these supplies, it was super overwhelming for me, Alicia and Robin. Like, to me, like, I'm very analytical, I'm very logical in the way I approach my life and my business, but I found myself creating a spreadsheet, like, create a spreadsheet, and I've got my supplies, I know how much I have, how much I use. And I said to myself, there's got to be a much better way to deal with this. Like, ostomates globally, they don't all have a spreadsheet like me, so I'm way too.
I did not have a spreadsheet. Like I do most things, I just was winging it. I was like, oh, I'm out of this, I need to order it. So yeah, I definitely did not track anything on a spreadsheet.
But Robin, like, doesn't that create a whole bunch of anxiety, right? Like, what if I run out of a certain supply? Like, what would happen? Like, you have to hustle to get, Edge Park or, someone to overnight supplies, and that costs more money, right?
Yes, that is true. But also, I still was just like, I probably erred on the side of having extra of stuff I probably erred on the side of having, like, if I'm honest, probably 4 or 5 of the things. And if I got down to 2, I reordered. So I really was never in any danger of running out, if I'm honest. So I had a temp ostomy. When I did get reconnected, I had all of these extra supplies that I was able to send to someone else who had just gotten an ostomy. So I was able to donate them, pay it forward to someone else. But otherwise, I would have had a ton of extra supplies that I had paid for and would not have ended up using.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, there's so many online resources now. So I work closely with Osto Group. I don't know if you're familiar with Osto Group, but the team over there, they're phenomenal. So they take donations and then, they are able to then turn around and sell those donations, ostomy donations to, ostomates that do not have insurance or, require ostomy supplies. And I actually worked with them to send a bunch of supplies to this small clinic in Kenya. This was about 4 years ago. We sent a bunch of supplies to this clinic in Kenya where they had about 200 or so patients, and they were all under 15 years of age, and they didn't have any supplies. So we worked with them to get a bunch of supplies over there. That was, yeah, we take things for granted over here in the US. So yeah, that's near and dear to my heart, giving back to the community. But Oster Group, I have to give them a shout out. Like, they are phenomenal people. I work very closely with them.
Well, we'll link to that in the show notes too, if anybody's interested in getting involved as well. So that's really lovely. Backing up, you've got a spreadsheet. Robin does not, but
yeah. So the spreadsheet, so it helps you keep track of supplies. And then I'm like, hold on a second. Am I staying on track with my, ostomy changes? So I've figured out now that I need to change every 3 days, right? If I go any longer than that, then the skin around my stoma starts to deteriorate. It's called the peristomal area. And it starts getting red, and then it starts getting ulcerations, and it's really a bad situation, right? And then you end up at the WCN nurse, and you're trying to backtrack and figure out, hold on a second, what's causing this? Or you may have had a bad reaction to a certain supply, and you don't know when you changed using new supplies or whatnot. So therein was born the idea of OstoBuddy. Like, I went on the App Store and I started searching for ostomy apps. And lo and behold, there was nothing there. I was shocked that no one had come up with a simple solution for tracking supplies, keeping, ostomates on track, keeping, tracking output, right? What happens when you have an ostomy surgery, Robin? You get sent home with a piece of paper from the doctor that says, for the next 2 weeks, go measure your output.
Yes.
Because we need to know when you come back 2 weeks later whether you're at risk for dehydration. So what happened to me? Within the first week, I got dehydrated. That paper stays at home with you. The doctor doesn't know what's going on, right? I ended up in the ER because I was dehydrated because my output was way too high. So with OstoBuddy, I created a way for you to track your output, and it's a very proactive way for you to send your output notifications to your doctor. That way they know whether you're going over that 1200 cc mark on a daily basis or not. That way you know whether you're at risk for dehydration. You avoid going to the ER. Like, just think about that conceptually. It's just so simple, but at the same time, it's like, even to date, like, I spoke with an ostomy patient yesterday. They were sent home with a piece of paper from the doctor. In this day and age, in 2023, we're still doing this?
Don't get me started on stuff that's still happening. I had my first ostomy 20 years ago, and I got another one in 2020. And I was like, I can't believe this stuff hasn't improved. So, Alicia, I promise you I won't go down this rabbit hole, but I feel like there should be vast improvements in all areas of having an ostomy that there haven't been. So I'm going to go back on mute now, Alicia.
No, I agree with you. I mean, it's like we've all sort of marveled at the fact that nothing seems to have changed for the time that in between Robin's ostomies, and how bizarre that is. Because you're right, there's so much technology that's changed. So it's weird. But can I ask you both, since you've both had ostomies, when you say track your output, how do you do that? Do you weigh the bag? I mean,
well, they send you home with a little container, and you put your output in that container, and it fills up a certain line, and it measures the amount of output. So it's volume, right?
Got it. Okay. Yes. I just didn't, because I was like, I'm like, you're emptying it into the toilet. Are you just eyeballing it? Because let me tell you, I'm not good at eyeballing stuff. So I would be like, I don't know. I seem fine, I guess. I don't know. So, okay. They're like, okay, you have to start tracking it. So you have an idea conceptually of how much is going out. So you put it in a container to be able to track. Got it. Thank you. All right. Apologies for interrupting.
And then you take a piece of paper and a pen and you write it down, and then you put it away on the side of your, bathroom or whatever, until you go back to the doctor 2 weeks later. Really?
Yeah, there's definitely better ways to do this. Sounds like you figured it out, though.
Yeah, so fast forward, I came up with this app and we've slowly started adding new features and functionalities, and there are thousands of patients globally that are using it now. And I've been through quite a journey with the app because initially I built the app myself because I'm an engineer at heart. I started off as an engineer and now I'm in tech sales, but still kind of dabble in, development, whatever. So I created the first version of the app, and I got to tell you, like, I'm not proud of it because it sucked. It was so bad. The UI was horrible, but what is it? It proved a point, like it worked, right? And I built it for myself. And then I ended up at a doctor's office somewhere in Miami, and I showed the app to them, and they're like, and the nurse was like, so many ostomies can use this. I'm like, but it sucks. They're like, no, but it's better than anything that exists out there, which is nothing. So I released the app, and this was, gosh, many years ago. I can't remember when, but I released the app, and before you knew it, like I had hundreds of downloads, turns into thousands of downloads. And I'm like, okay, I might have something here. So then I hired a company that helped me kind of, improve the UI and actually do some app development. And that was quite an experience. That company that I hired was a close friend of mine that I had gone to high school with. And, up until then, I kind of struggled to improve the app. But when I got to him, he really helped me take it from kind of here to level it up to being super usable, UI friendly. And that's what's in the App Store today. We have some really cool stuff coming out, some new improvements, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you as well.
That's very cool. Do you track how people find you? Like, how did you go from you using an app to hundreds of people using an app? Because obviously, if you're in sales, you figure out, like, how can you track how people get to you, right?
Yeah, we all watch Shark Tank, right? So honestly, like it's been very word of mouth, and it's been very organic. I have not invested any dollars in marketing at all. That's going to change soon because I think there are many, many ostomates that can still benefit from an app like OstoBuddy. So we're kind of taking the next step. Until now, it's been funded solely by myself and my personal kind of limited bankroll to help kind of improve the app and give back to an ostomy community. So until recently, when, I was able to win a challenge and get some additional funds to redevelop the app, add some new functionality, and really add some really neat features to the OstoBuddy app that sets it apart from anything else that's available. So, this goes back to that Lyfebulb challenge that you mentioned, Alicia. I'm not ignoring your question here, but just going back to that, in November of 22, I got a random email from Lyfebulb. I had heard of Lyfebulb before, but they sent me a note saying, hey, you should probably submit an application for OstoBuddy. We're doing an IBD innovation challenge, sponsored by Lyfebulb and Bristol Myers Squibb. We have a few thousand entrants, and we think you should put your hat in the ring as well. And I'm like, okay, I guess so. Why not? I didn't think anything of it. So I spent the next, 60 minutes or so submitting an application, just thinking, whatever. It's just an app by a sales guy that's an ostomate. And in December, I got another email saying, hey, you're one of 10 finalists. What just happened, right? These are the moments that I want people to understand, like, when you tell your kids sky's the limit, or you can do whatever and be a change agent, whatever you want to call it. Things really do happen in life for a reason. And if you're going to build something that has the core premise of helping people out there, there's nothing that's going to stop you. So when I got that email, I was like, okay, this is cool. So what's going to happen now? So I was invited to Princeton, New Jersey in January of this year, 23, to present alongside the 10 finalists for this IBD innovation challenge. And I was super nervous. It's like, I've never done anything like this. This is pretty neat. It's pretty big. And the grand prize was $25,000. So I remember flying up there, and on the flight, I am making changes to my presentation because that's just who I am. I do things very last minute, and I have all these thoughts in my head that I want to put on paper, for lack of better terms, and, share with the community. So I was given maybe 10 minutes to speak. and I had all of this to share with everybody. So this podcast is probably about 60 minutes, and imagine cramming 60 minutes of your thoughts into 10 minutes. And I arrive, and the first night there's this grand dinner with, the folks over at Bristol Myers Squibb and Lyfebulb. I'm sitting next to the CFO of Lyfebulb, and we're just chatting. And across from me is this guy with a PhD, and next to me is this guy that has, FDA approval for his IBD innovation. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm looking around me, I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? Right? Like, if I could insert an emoji in an audio podcast, it would be that one with like the brain kind of, exploding. I'm texting my wife going, I don't belong, but I did, because the next day I was number 4 to present. And the first one was, again, PhDs, and they're all phenomenal innovations, like things that should have existed when I was having my issues, and I would have probably tried, I remember one was about this app that, correlates all of these recipes online. And then you were able to kind of filter through gluten-free, vegan, blah, blah, blah. And it will narrow down and substitute, ingredients into the recipe. That's innovative. That's pretty neat. There are a lot of people around the world that could benefit from that, not only for IBD, but also for other health reasons, right? So I'm sitting here and I'm listening to the first 3 go up, and I'm, again, emoji, brain exploding. What am I going to talk about when I go up there? I have my slides on what's OstoBuddy, but how am I going to separate myself from the pack? I don't have a PhD. I don't have a background in medicine. I haven't gone through FDA approval or anything like that. I'm just a guy that had an idea, that has an experience with ostomies, built an app, and have thousands of users around the world that's using the app, and hopefully getting some benefit from it. So I went up on stage and I just told my story like I'm telling you my story right now. It was just me. And I thought nothing of it. And I sat down after. It felt good to kind of tell my story. And I remember Dr. Mark Osterman, he works for Bristol Myers Squibb. We had a break right after mine, so it was kind of cool. I got to kind of decompress after my presentation. He came up to me, he shook my hand. He goes, "You're an inspiration to this community. Thank you for doing what you're doing to help ostomates out there." And that resonated with me. I was like, holy crap, I'm onto something. So I'll pause. I know I've said a lot, and I can go on, but you have any questions for me so far?
No, we're both just sitting here like wrapped, like keep going. This is great.
Yeah. Love it. But first of all, congratulations too. I mean, I know you said that, but I just want to stop while you're pausing. Just say congratulations.
It's very humbling to be part of something like this, right? I mean, I've invested tens of thousands of dollars in my own personal money into this, not only for myself. Like, I use my app every single day. Like, every day that goes by, it keeps me accountable for changing my ostomy, how many supplies I have left. Thankfully, I don't have to track my output, because that part really sucks. But for those that have to, the features are in there. But I use my app every single day. So talk about eating your own dog food or drinking your own champagne. Like, I do it, right? You sell something to somebody, you sell something because you believe in it. This is not something I sell. It's free. Go out there, use it, So I eat my own dog food, for lack of better terms. But back to Princeton, New Jersey, let's go back there. And I'm sitting down and, I'm listening to the rest of the presentations. And I'm like, no, there's no freaking way I'm going to get picked. Like, I'm looking down at my phone. I'm getting text messages from my wife. How did it go? And I'm like, yeah, it went well. Like, I told my story. I showed them my slides, and, everyone understands the impact of the app, but no one wants to talk about ostomies because it's just not a sexy topic. But imagine the number of people that are actually having ostomy surgeries on a daily basis. This is growing exponentially, right? I mean, if you look at Instagram, if you look at TikTok and other social media apps, you will see there are now a number of influencers, models, et cetera, that are now, quote unquote, coming out, right? Sharing their experiences. And I'm not saying it's a norm, because still there's a very large population, especially here in the United States, that don't understand what an ostomy is. They are still living back in the 80s, where ostomy technology isn't what it is today. So they still associate it with gross bad odors, whatever, leaks, etc. I got to tell you, Ostomy Technologies, Coloplast especially, has done a phenomenal job of continuing to innovate. And I follow their progress, and they've continued to innovate.
There's still a lot of room for improvement. A lot of room for improvement.
Absolutely. I think they need to continue to hear from patients. But anyway, so I'm in Princeton, New Jersey. I'm listening to all these, wonderful presentations, and it comes time for announcing who the winner is. But before they do that, they take each of the finalists into a jury room, and the panelists, they have the ability to spend 5 minutes with you to ask any additional questions. So I'm in the jury room, and they ask me some questions about the app, like, hey, why do you not have this feature? Or why do you not have that feature? And I'm able to bring up my app and kind of show them that, hey, I do have these features, right? And one of the panelists asked me, why do you need the money? Look, money's great. Money is always going to help. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars. The prize money will help continue to innovate the app to make it easier for patients to use, not only for younger generation, but also for the elderly, right? I have a whole roadmap of new features that I want to develop, but there's some also new stuff with AI and ML that I want to add into the app that costs a lot of dollars, right? So I shared a little bit about my roadmap, which I can't share here for obvious reasons, but I walked away from the jury room still thinking to myself, I'm like, there's no way they're picking me. We sat down, and the panelists go up on stage, and they start talking about the reasons why they picked the winner. One of them was it's innovative. The second one was it meets an unmet need right now in the community. At this point, I'm still like, it's not me. And then they started talking about potential partnerships with durable medical equipment suppliers and manufacturers. And then the last one, they said, well, everyone needs a buddy. At that point, I'm like, emoji, head exploding. Are you kidding me? I was floored. Next thing I knew, I'm like walking through an airport heading home with this like big check, one of those big like checks that they give you. And I'm having to explain to everybody that at the airport when I'm walking through TSA and whatnot, what the check is for, what did I just do? So I'm telling the story like on repeat for the next 24 hours. But yeah, it was super grateful, super humbling experience. That money's going to go such a long way. And I can't wait for you guys to see where OstoBuddy is going next.
That's so awesome. But also, couldn't they ship the check to you? I mean, did they really have to make you carry it through the airport?
Feedback form. We'll make sure to send them some feedback up for the next challenge.
Thank you so much for your support. But also next time, can you just mail me the check? And that'd be great. That's so exciting. I mean, it must also be really fun to see what other people are thinking too. Like what a cool experience to be able to sit with other people who are like thinking in a different way about IBD or about, what we need as this part of the community. So I think that's so fun.
Questions. So for anybody who is about to have an ostomy or has recently gotten an ostomy, if you haven't done this, you should. There's no way to know what is the right supply for you, bag, pouch, that whole system, unless you try them. And so definitely reach out to the ostomy supply companies to get samples. They will gladly send you samples so that you can try different types of bags. Myself, Convatec 2-piece. I ended up with that 20 years ago, and it ended up being the one that I went with in 2020 also after trying some new ones. So if you're about to get an ostomy or you're very newly with an ostomy, definitely reach out to ostomy supply companies to get samples. The question around that is, does your app assist with that process? Is that something that is a part of it? Or I'm just throwing stuff out there. You might not even think about that, but it could be a thing.
You're trying to get some insight into the roadmap, and right now it doesn't. But
okay.
Education is a huge piece of this, right? Like there are other apps that do that. There's, Ostomy 101. There's some other apps that do this really, really well. So that was one of the questions the jury panel had for me is like, do you track intake, right? Do you track the water, input, and you track output today? So my main focus right now is to really nail down the supply tracking, the usage, the ability to get notifications and output. These are the core fundamentals and foundation of what will help improve quality of life for an ostomy long term, right? So it's about, think about an exercise routine. If you think of apps like Lose It or Peloton or exercise apps like Aptiv or whatever it is, what is the number one thing that they strive for? It's about accountability. It's about creating small habits or habits in general. And if you've ever read the book Atomic Habits, which I'm a huge fan of that book, right? It's create those small habits so that long term you set it and you forget it. And that's what the app is meant for, right? It's, I'm going to click a button that I've changed my ostomy supplies. Here are the supplies that I typically use. Make it super duper easy for a patient or an ostomate, right? These other things like education and videos and, intake of water, etc. For me, at this point, there are other apps that do that really well. However, is there a potential for OstoBuddy to include those things as well? Absolutely. But I think that it's going to require a partnership with online bloggers like Vegan Ostomy. I don't know if you know Eric over there, but Eric's amazing. With partnerships with like Vegan Ostomy that have a lot of content already out there, but just, you're doing a little bit more of the content consolidation so that it's easily accessible to ostomates.
I mean, your app is focused on what you just described. And I appreciate that you're not trying to add every single thing that's available to the app, because that really affects, as you mentioned earlier, user experience. You want it to be a good user experience. You want people to use the app to build those habits. So being focused on a specific thing lets you be the expert at that thing, right? And lets you provide the best app, the best customer service, the best user experience. So I applaud you for staying with that and staying focused on that and really serving the ostomy community in that way, because it is very beneficial. Like, I'm not going to track that kind of stuff on a spreadsheet. Like, I'm just not that kind of person. In my professional life, yes, but in my personal life, no. It is not happening. So to have an app to be able to make it easy for me to do would have been lovely. And if I ever have to have an ostomy again, now there is one.
Absolutely. I hope that you don't. And I hope, you continue to have good health. But if you do, OstoBuddy is there for you, right? One thing I do think we forget in the United States is that the United States is not the center of the world, and English is not the only language. And that's one area that I've continued to invest in, is to make sure that, people are aware or have the ability to access OstoBuddy in other parts of the world as well. So recently I was able to partner with someone, because I obviously don't speak Dutch and I don't speak Spanish, but I was able to partner with someone to actually translate the app into both Dutch and Spanish. There is a very, very large community of Dutch-speaking ostomates that are now benefiting from OstoBuddy because I've translated the app. So just let's think about that for a second. Like, most apps or most focus areas for, R&D and whatnot centered around English. It's centered around here in the US, and globally patients don't have access to it. There are hundreds of thousands of ostomy patients in India alone. So that's an area of focus for me as well, is to make sure that we continue to expand globally. I have patients as far and wide as Australia and, Japan using the app. So yeah, that's where I'm continuing to invest as well.
I don't want to make assumptions here, but I'm guessing that it works for any kind of ostomy, urostomy, ileostomy, like any kind of ostomy like that. It doesn't necessarily have to just be your colon, your large intestine, small intestines.
We don't discriminate. But all jokes aside, yes. So we cover all three types of ostomies. One area we do not cover today is double ostomies. It's just we've had requests from patients to allow for tracking of double ostomies. It's not that it's not important. It's just I haven't been able to focus into those use cases. Is it on the roadmap? Absolutely. There are patients out there that have double ostomies, but the population size is super small, right? Fortunately, right? But will it be included in the future? Potentially.
So I guess, why Dutch? Was it just because there was like a lot of people that you found out about, or is like, I'm just curious, like, it's just that one felt it like Spanish makes sense to me, but Dutch is not exactly as ubiquitous as Spanish.
I had an ostomy community manager reach out to me about 2 years ago and did not give up trying to get me to translate the app.
Huh.
And I kept saying, yep, I'll do it. Yes, I'll get there. Okay. I literally got an email probably every week from this person. And then finally I won this app challenge. And I said, okay, I have a little bit of money. I'm connected to someone that can do this. I'll make it happen. And it wasn't as big of a challenge as I made it out to seem, but we made it happen. But I've come to find out that this Dutch population that this ostomy community has access to is about 40,000 large. So yeah, it was a good investment of our time.
Yeah, that's a big need. Wow. So I'm curious because I think we've, and Robin, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but I know we've had some folks that have had ostomies that have come on and they found an appliance they liked. They, sort of seemed like it was going fine. And then they were like it started leaking. They didn't like it any longer, but now they have a whole box of these supplies that have already been given to them. Are you able to return those, or how does this work with insurance? Is it like drugs where once they give it to you, it's yours and you can't return it? Or what if you change your mind and decide you want something different?
Too bad. So sad. It's yours. I mean, it's a medical device, so you can't return a medical device.
Huh. Okay. So then you just end up having to pay for more supplies.
Correct.
Wow. Cool. That's great.
Which is why you should reach out to get samples ahead of time and try as many different versions as you can get free samples of to make sure that you find one that you like and works for you. And if you get to a point where you don't like it anymore, I would request samples again.
Okay. Gosh, that just seems like a big financial barrier to people,
It's incredible how much ostomy supplies still cost in this day and age. And insurance policies, especially with these high deductible plans, it's a huge barrier to entry, for lack of better terms. But I'm fortunate enough where I can afford it. But if I put myself in someone else's shoes, it's how the hell are you going to pay for ostomy supplies for the rest of your life?
Right.
I have nightmares sometimes where I'm apocalypse is coming and I have an ostomy and I'm running out of supplies. What is going to happen? Well, if an apocalypse is coming, then that's the least of my worries, right?
I have had I've had similar nightmares. And 20 years ago, when I had my first ostomy, when it was just about time for me to have my reconnection surgery, I refused to reorder a whole thing of supplies when I was just so close to the end. I remember this vividly because my in-laws at the time thought I had lost my mind. I was staying with them the week before surgery. I took my last flange. I did not have any more, and I had to change my bag and get to another week. I took it off, warm watered that baby, put it back on me, hair dried it, made it sticky again. It lasted me to get to surgery, but I was not going to buy another whole set of supplies just to get me through one more week.
I have to give OstoGroup another shout out here. ostogroup.org. I've been working closely with them. These types of organizations are game changers for us in the ostomy community, because what should cost $10 costs, $100 through insurance. What? That's stupid. After insurance, it's cost me $100. That's ridiculous, But it is the world we live in here. But community, organizations like OstoGroup are helping out. So I definitely recommend any ostomate that's having some challenges with cost or whatever to reach out to them or go to the website.
Also, UOAA has support groups around the country, and usually those local support groups will have a pantry, a supply pantry, where people who have gone to the group, attended the group, will donate supplies. So also reach out to United Ostomy Association. UOAA.
So, question for both of you. What do you think is the greatest innovation need in ostomy supplies? What sucks the most?
I have an answer immediately, but I'm interested to hear what Kishore has to say because...
No, you go, Robin. Ladies first.
The thing that I was just so surprised by that hadn't changed at all was how the flange attaches to the skin. It's basically just glue. I mean, I don't know a better way to say it. You're basically just gluing this thing to your skin. And if it doesn't stick, the answer is stickier glue in the form of a spray or a cream or a wafer that you stick in there. And so, which irritates the skin, or if there is a leak, it causes that reactions that Kishore talked about earlier. And if you have an ileostomy or a loop ileostomy, which is higher up in the abdomen, your output is more acidic, I guess is the best way to say it, where it's going to, so if that gets on your skin and sits on there for any amount of time, you're definitely going to have challenges with the skin around your stoma. And so I was just, I don't know why I was so surprised. I was so surprised that with a 20-year difference, they just found out that they needed to make stickier glue. I was just like, there's got to be a better way to have this attached to the skin. I don't know what that is. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a chemist. I don't know,
are
a
you saying,
biomedical
though,
inventor. I don't know.
Are you saying, though, that there's a chemical reaction between the glue and the output that causes the ulceration? Or is it just that because of the leak that causes inflammation on the skin? Okay.
Yeah.
So there's not like some sort of like the glue isn't necessarily exacerbating the problem.
No.
But it's also not preventing the problem.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. I'm with you.
I cried many times with my recent ostomy. My sister, who is a nurse, when she was trying to help me change it, at first she was just like, you've done this before, you got this. And then when I said I need help, because I was really too weak to change it myself, and she was trying to help me, and we went through like 3 flanges in one change because I couldn't get it to stick. She was like, oh my gosh, you're right. Who do we know? Who do we know that's scientists that can come up with a better way to attack? I was like, Alicia's husband is a chemist. Maybe we could get him to do it. So
he doesn't do that type of chemistry, but he does know people. So that's why I might be asking this for a reason.
That's my thing. That is my thing. That's what I was surprised about and what I feel like needs a little bit more attention, especially as Kishore, as you said, the ostomy community is just growing. And most people, when you get an ostomy, you have it for the rest of your life. I was very fortunate to have temporary ostomy twice, but that doesn't mean that an ostomy is not in my future again. So I just feel like I could do better there. What about you?
There's so much, like, I agree with you. The whole glue thing still blows my mind that that's the way we're doing things still in this day and age. But what baffles me is like, and I know certain companies that have tried to add tech to ostomy, right? And when we talk about tech, I'm not talking about like an app like mine where, OstoBuddy, where you're requiring user input, whatnot, but like to automate that whole process, meaning have a tech device that's tracking your output or that's tracking certain metrics around, how quickly from food ingestion to output to track, being able to detect when you're leaking underneath the flange, right? How does that not exist today yet?
That would be amazing to detect it, because you don't know if you have a leak until it's out far enough to where you can see it, smell it, feel it, it's already on your clothes, whatever that looks like. That would be an amazing advancement to be able to know that a leak was starting.
And there's some companies that are trying to do this, but they haven't gotten far enough yet. Mm-hmm. But that, to me, those are like table stakes for me. In 2023, I'm like, I want to have a little medical device that is attached to the flange or the bag or whatever, mm-hmm. that's going to track whether I have a leak or not.
Right. Yes.
Or as simple as, is the acidity in my output causing an issue with my skin?
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
So whoever's listening to this, Coloplast, Comatech, whoever it is, go invent it. Like, you're going to make millions
Hollister.
of dollars. I'll take my royalties at this point.
We'll make an IP disclaimer right now that anything discussed on the show is property of the people that have said it. And therefore, if you want it, you got to contact us.
Electronically signed by Kishore.
That's right. And Robin. I would love to have that kind of tech, and I feel like it's necessary. I'm just worried about glue, and you're thinking I'm living in 2000 and you're living in 2050.
Yeah, that's what we have to be to continue to innovate. We are the future. Like, whatever we think of now, whatever we do now is what's going to come out, 30 years from now. So, and it's unfortunate because that's how slow the medical community rolls, as you know. But we're looking at like FDA approvals and this and that and blah blah blah. Like, how can we fast track that whole process so that patients can benefit sooner than later?
Well, my thought is, why does it have to be something that sits on your skin? Is there some way they could like implant something that creates the actual like thing that it attaches to, that instead of it sticking to your skin, it's just like, the screw that comes out and the flange is the bolt that it attaches to. Like maybe that's.
I'd happily be a cyborg. Let's do it.
I don't know. Listen, there's all sorts of like, lawsuits about medical mesh right now. So maybe this is not the best idea. So I don't know. I'll talk to the scientists. I know. I'll see what we can get into here. Okay. So fascinating. I'm going to ask you a little bit of an off the wall question, but will you tell us a little bit about Barbados?
Oh man, it's incredible. I mean, we try to go back every year, once at least, maybe twice a year. It's still home. My entire family's there. My wife's family is there. And, we live such a busy life here in the US. We kind of lose sight of enjoying our lives, because here it's about the hustle. Here it's about the rat race. Here it's about the hamster wheel, right? And I use my moments to go home to just slow down. And the minute you land, you're like, okay, like things are much slower here, for better or worse. Like you're going to go at snail's pace for everything. You're talking about like drive-throughs. You're talking about getting your luggage. Everything is much slower when you land in the islands, right? But with that said, the smell of the salt from the ocean as you land, regardless of if you're inland or not, like you're 20 minutes from the beach. And it's the best. They're the best beaches in the world. I live in Florida. Florida beaches they're not the same. They're good. Don't get me wrong, especially on the west coast of Florida. But the beaches in Barbados are incredible. The people are friendly. The food is out of this world. So if you compare the foods between here and there, and I don't want to get into a debate of, did I get ulcerative colitis because I moved to the US and I was exposed to the food here or not? Like that's a whole another show, right? Or a podcast, but the food just tastes better. It reminds me of, my youth and growing up and being around my family and just good times, right? The rum in Barbados is out of this world. So if you like old Mount Gay spiced rum, it is one of the best, especially if you make a good bread pudding and you soak the rum into it. Delicious. And the music, like, everybody knows Barbados because of Rihanna now but Rihanna's not the only thing about Barbados, but she did put Barbados on the map. I'm very proud of being from Barbados. So yeah, hope that helped a little bit.
I mean, well, now I want to go immediately,
Yes.
which Robin, like maybe we just get on a boat and keep going.
Yes,
I think we need to re-record this podcast there.
Yes.
I agree.
Right?
100%. Although that would be
Yes.
really difficult to edit with ocean sounds in the background. I'm not going to lie to you. Okay. But did you notice any differences? Because, one of the things we've talked about with the South Asian IBD folks that have come on the show is cultural stigmas attached to certain aspects of living with inflammatory bowel disease or actually having inflammatory bowel disease. Did you notice any differences when you went back to these same beaches, but with an ostomy?
Look, I'm still, 1 foot in, 1 foot out with kind of exposing myself as an ostomate.
Okay.
I won't lie to you. Like I wear a shirt when I'm at the beach. It's a little bit of being self-conscious. It's a little bit of just not comfortable with, sharing that I have an ostomy. There are a lot of people that just don't know or don't need to know. Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Everyone's on a need to know basis around me.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, it's my decision on whether I share, and I'm sharing with you guys because I'm comfortable with it, but it's more around the journey of, the problems I'm trying to solve for other ostomates around me.
Mm-hmm.
But that stigma in the South Asian community or the Asian community it's real. One of the finalists who won alongside me, because there was a nonprofit and a for-profit prize. And the nonprofit was Tina and Prakash from Saya. And I don't know if you guys have had an opportunity to interview her or not.
Oh, yeah. Basically all of Saya, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe I think we might have one doctor we haven't talked to yet, but that's it.
That is true. We do have one doctor we haven't talked to yet.
Yeah.
We do.
But yeah, they're fantastic and have like exploded, come out of nowhere and just doing such great work. So yeah.
They are. And, Tina and I are trying to find a way to partner with each other to kind of break down some of these barriers and, help the community there with the OstoBuddy tech and whatnot. So I applaud her for the work that she's done and also for continuing to fight the fight, right? And those stigmas are real. And when you go home to a large Indian community like I do, like they're on a need to know basis, and they will still perceive you in a certain way because you're not the same and you're different. But one thing we've learned, especially like in the past 5 years, is we need to accept people for who they are. Everyone has their experiences, and those experiences are what makes them who they are, right? Yep. So if you don't know that I have an ostomy, but you believe I'm a good person and you believe that, I belong in the community and whatnot, knowing that I have an ostomy shouldn't change any of that.
No.
And that thought process can be applied to so many other scenarios. And I don't need to speak about those scenarios. Everyone knows what I'm referring to, right? Accept people for who they are. Just be a good human being. Yeah. That's what life is about. And that's what I teach my kids every day. Just be a good freaking human being and the world will do right by you.
Yep. Okay. One of the things you mentioned before we hit record was you said, ask me about the craziest thing I've done. And I've been curious for an hour now thinking about this. So please do tell us, what is the craziest thing you've done?
Oh my God. Well, this is such a hard thing to kind of expose myself, but at the same time, it's just this mental picture I have of myself doing this, where I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? Now I'm in my 40s, right? And back when I was in my 20s, like, did I really do this? Like, okay, so I had a really bad flare up of ulcerative colitis, and I was in the hospital for like 3 days. And I'm in the hospital on medications, recovering. And Saturdays are like football day. I'm a big Miami Hurricanes fan. Okay. This was many moons ago when we were actually better. And then they had the big rivalry here in Florida, right? You have the Miami Hurricanes and you've got the Florida State, right? Seminoles, right? So the big game was coming up on a Saturday. So I was in the hospital and I'm like, I have to get better by Saturday. So Saturday comes around and I'm like, I'm much better. Like, doc, I'm ready to get discharged. Got to go. Game time at noon. That morning, 8 a.m., doctors made their rounds. I convinced the doctor to discharge me. My best friend comes to pick me up from the hospital, picks me up with my Miami Hurricanes gear. I change in the car and I'm still like, should not have been out of bed, right? So I'm out in the heat. We go straight to the game from the hospital. And I still remember like I still had my hospital armband on. I had the Band-Aids where I had my IV. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a really bad idea, right?
This totally sounds like something I would do also. So I'm over here cracking up on mute because this tracks for me as well, Kishore. This tracks for me as well. I 100% would have gotten out of the hospital to go to an LSU game. 100% would have done that.
But I mean, these are the moments that define who we are, in my opinion. Like, it's like, was it more about the game, or was it about the fact that I'm pushing myself to do something that someone told me I could not do? Oh, don't get me wrong. I should not have done it. It was a really bad idea. Hindsight, like looking back to my younger self, like I would tell myself, you are a stupid idiot for doing that. However, I got to experience it. I think we won the game, but I never stayed till the end of the game because I didn't make it to the end of the game. I was dehydrated from the sun, just got out of the hospital, and I had to use the bathroom. And that's the first time I used a porta potty, which was a disgusting experience, right? But like, I did it. And I look back and I would do it all over again because no one is going to stop me from doing anything in my life. Not my gut. I'll cut it out. I'll cut you. Like, the colon's gone. Like, the bad parts are gone, right? It's like, mess with me, you're gone. You're cut out of my life, a little bit of joke in there, but at the same time, it's like nothing's going to stop me in my life. Nothing's going to stop me from achieving what I know in my head I can achieve. So yeah, crazy.
It is pretty crazy. But also seems reasonable to me.
Well,
Alicia, don't shake your head at me.
Our prefrontal cortexes are not fully developed until our mid-20s. And so this is what happens, is that we make these fantastic decisions because our prefrontal cortex isn't the 40-year-old prefrontal cortex that's like, hey, calm your tits, guys. Maybe you shouldn't do this.
Robin, she's going all mom mode on us right now.
I know. Yeah, she is.
Oh no, I have plenty of skeletons in my 20-year-old closet. I was doing equally dumb things, but maybe not checking myself out of the hospital to do them, just generally stupid things. So I say this to 20-year-old Alicia as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom.
It's fine. We're all still here. We are all still here.
And we're all functioning adults. Yes.
Yes, we are. Well, kind of functioning adults. I don't know. I'm very sorry to say that it's time for me to ask you the last question. What's the one thing you want the IBD community to know?
Well, before I answer it, I want to thank both of you for having me on. This has been a pretty cool experience. I can't wait for part 2 at some point. There's got to be a part 2, I think. What do I want the IBD community to know? Never lose hope. There will be moments in your life where you will feel like you are losing, or it will feel like you're losing, and you want to lose hope and things aren't going your way. And those are all part of the journey. They're part of the journey for you to learn that you have more fight left in you. I hope I'm allowed to say this, but I tell my kids this, and I tell folks this all the time. God doesn't give people things in life or experiences in life or challenges in life that he doesn't believe they can handle. So for me, when I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, I was like, why me? Why is this happening to me? No one else in my life has ever had this. And then now I'm like the lucky one. I hit the jackpot. And then when I had to have surgery, it's like, crap, why is this happening to me? It just keeps happening. But as I've gotten older and I've been able to kind of just focus in on the things that matter most, which are life, family, kids, friends, health, not the material stuff, right? Not the stuff that people, what are people going to think I look like? Oh, I have to go to the bathroom all the time. I walk into a room and the first thing I look for is, where's the bathroom? Because I need to know where the bathroom is. Those are experiences that are pretty traumatic for people. And yeah, you kind of train yourself to learn about how you need to accommodate yourself. But what I want people to know is these experiences are who make and shape you for who you're going to continue to be in your life. So don't lose hope. They're all there for you to learn. It's all part of the process. Trust the process and go download the OstoBuddy app.
Always good to put the last one in for sure.
Right?
Absolutely. Kishore, what a delightful way to spend a Sunday afternoon. You are such a storyteller. It's been so fun to talk to you and to get all of this background and to hear how you developed OstoBuddy. So congratulations on that. But also thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And thank you everyone else for listening, and cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
Thank you. Hey there, this is Kishore. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, subscribe, and share it with your friends.